Okay, so I have been asked to do this video by one of my lovely subscribers. He's been subscribed probably from pretty much the start of my YouTube journey. So, I mean, I'm still pretty early in my YouTube journey. But yeah, he has always commented, and he was one of my sort of first subscribers, I think. So that was really nice. So he's asked me, he's a bit of a film buff, and he has asked me to, I'll keep looking down because I'm looking at my notes. He's asked me to do a bit of a movie kind of answer question type thing. And he wants to know what my favourite films are. So I'm going to go through a few of his questions that he left me yesterday and talk about some of my favourite films. I'm not a huge film buff. I'm not a huge telly person. I like documentaries and things like that. So there are certain programmes that we watch that I quite like, usually documentary things. I like kind of ghost hunting things, light-hearted things like that, or travelling the world kind of documentaries, or stuff about endangered animals, nature programmes, that kind of stuff. But I don't mind a good film every now and then, and I've seen some amazing films. My favourite film of this year, and a film that is probably going to be one of my favourite films of all time, I reckon, is Ready Player One. We actually got free tickets to go and see it at a preview, and I have to say, we were looking forward to it anyway. We had planned we were going to go and see it, but we were not disappointed. It was such an amazing film. All of the retro references to sort of my youth, growing up, sort of the Back to the Future stuff, Rampage, King Kong. There were just so many sort of 80s references that I loved. My lads and Lee are gamers, so yeah, they got loads of the references for gaming and stuff. The music was fantastic. They got some really good tunes, and there were some great moments. Where they threw the Chucky doll, the Chucky attack at the army, the Sixers. That was hilarious. There's just some great bits. The whole thing about the film, the whole way the characters interacted with each other, they were just brilliant. I've not read the book. Before we went, I should know the book off by heart, because Brendan was listening to it for a good month, 2 months before the movie came out. He was listening to the audiobook, which I believe was read by Will Wheaton, who is another one of my favourites. So I know that there are parts of the book a lot of the book that didn't relate at all to the film, and the film, bits that didn't relate at all to the original story in the book. And Brendan, who's obviously up on both of them now, having watched the film a few times and the book, read the book, listened to the audiobook, he says they're both excellent stories. Even though the film's not true to it completely, it's still really good. He really enjoyed it. So that is my current favourite film. My favourite films of all time, it's a bit tricky. I've got 3. So originally I always said Beauty and the Beast was my favourite film. That was my Disney favourite, and not the one that's just come out with what's the name, who played Hermione Granger. I'm talking about the original Disney animated one. I loved the music, loved the story, loved the characters. Chip is just adorable. And the way the Beast is portrayed is fantastic. You kind of want to hate him, but actually kind of really like him as well. So I really enjoyed that, and I was learning to play the piano. I've on and off learned to play the piano over the years, and I haven't done it since I've had children. But that was probably my last time that I was learning to play the piano, and I used to be able to play Tale as Old as Time, so I loved that, and I loved the music. It was my favourite song. So what was the next one here? Oh, Labyrinth. So before that, actually, Labyrinth. So growing up, before Beauty and the Beast, Labyrinth was my favourite. I used to dress like Sarah. The characters, Ludo, they're all fantastic. I used to be able to recite, and still can recite most of it off by heart. The Little Worm, Come in and Meet the Missus. Love it. And it's kind of made a bit of a comeback recently. More and more people have been watching it. And they've released the board game as well, which I've got. And the good thing about the board game is you can play it on your own as well. So I really recommend the board game. It's really good fun. What was the other? And Love Actually. So it's kind of a bit of a range, really. They're not all kind of one sort of genre, really, but Love Actually is another. I mean, I love Hugh Grant films anyway. That whole kind of, I love the British Four Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, all of those. I just think they're brilliant. And I know Hugh Grant kind of plays the same character in all of them, but I like that dippy, dozy English gentleman kind of character. And things like About a Boy, that was another good one of his. So I like all of those. I'm not a huge fan of horror. I never watched horror when I was younger, except Poltergeist. Poltergeist? I think that's what it was. My mum didn't know I'd watched it. I watched it at a friend's house. Absolutely terrified the life out of me. Has stuck with me for a long time. The whole getting dragged through the house and the whole ripping his face off in the screen. But that put me off horror films. So when my mum said don't watch horror films, I actually listened to her after that. And I didn't watch any of the Friday the 13th or any of those kind of things. But I have watched all of those typical kind of 80s Friday the 13th. What are the other ones? The Freddy Krueger. That's Nightmare on Elm Street. That was it. All of those kind of ones I've watched, and they were not scary at all. They were kind of like, I was laughing. I was saying to Lee, "Is this certain?" He was like, "Yeah, it used to be scary back in the day." I'm like, okay. I know I'm older now. It probably would have terrified me as a child. So I haven't really got any favourites in the kind of the horror area. I'm trying to think about action films. If there's any real action films I like. I didn't mind the second Terminator, but as I've got older, I've kind of lost interest in the whole Terminator thing. I don't know, I can't think of anything. I did enjoy the Fast and Furious films. Was it Fast and Furious? Was it Fast and Furious? I think it must have been Fast and Furious. The ones where they nicked cars, or gone in... Fast and Furious. The ones where they were nicking cars, so the policeman, the one with the guy that died actually filming one of them, or not filming, but when he went off in a car in the middle of filming and had a car accident with a friend of his and he died. Whatever that series, I'm sure they're Fast and Furious, but they've had like 5 of them, I think, and I've pretty much enjoyed all of them. Okay, what was the next question? Which actress would I like to play me in a film about my life? Can't imagine anyone would really want to make a film about my life. Like I said, it's been pretty, level plodding. It's not, I don't have any huge, great, big, exciting moments. I do have exciting moments in my life. I make my life sound like it's really boring. But nothing that's worth kind of televising. I've not made any huge discoveries or, travelled the world or anything that people would probably really be interested in seeing. But I was chatting to Lee about this last night when I got these questions through, and one of the people that came to mind, and actually I can't think of another one that would do, is a young Meg Ryan. She was brilliant in When Harry Met Sally. She was brilliant in all those films back sort of in the day. And I always kind of related to her. I did relate to her. I thought she was hilarious, and I just thought the way, I know it's her character, she has to be her character, and so maybe it was just I related to her characters. But I don't know, she just has this standard kind of character, a bit like Hugh Grant has his standard character. She has her kind of fun, humorous character. So, I don't know, I think Meg Ryan, a young Meg Ryan would be fun, I think. Especially kind of the Meg Ryan character in When Harry Met Sally. I think that would be good. I think she'd be good. So, worst film ever watched? I don't know, actually. We've started watching a few films and then stopped and gone 10 minutes in, this is boring. Lee will not tolerate a film for very long if it's no good, so we will stop. Artsy fartsy films are not for me. I kind of want the story to be given to me. I don't want to have to root around looking for it, looking for the meaning. If I want to sit down and watch a film, I want it to be easy, is what I want. So artsy fartsy is no good. There are a couple we did think of. One of the recent ones we watched was A Wrinkle in Time, and that was touted to be a really good film. It was supposed to be like the next box office hit, and I can't think of anybody who I've spoken to who's been to see it, and it turns out it was quite a flop. Yeah, it was not as good as it was expected to be, and we didn't really enjoy it. We were just like, this just feels a bit odd. Just feels, I didn't get a feel for it. I was not feeling it. The other one was Cloverfield, which I was kind of, there's been Cloverfield 2, which I don't know, I haven't seen, I'm pretty certain I haven't seen Cloverfield 2. Cloverfield 1 was a bit strange. I remember babysitting a few years ago and watching Cloverfield, and then coming home and being so kind of fascinated by it. I thought it was rubbish. It's the whole kind of camcorder filming annoys me in a film. Like that, you know, get a bit seasick, don't you, kind of with the way the camera moves. But I was kind of fascinated by it and ended up coming home and staying up late just to watch the end of it. It didn't really stick in my head as being anything amazing. I don't know why I carried on watching it. I didn't really enjoy it. I was just kind of morbidly fascinated, I think is what I was. The other one was Gravity. It was a bit artsy-fartsy. That was, I think that was this year's film or last year's film, about who was being saved from space. Somebody, they were trying to bring her back, weren't they? Do you know, it's right there. The name, right there. It's stuck. Oh, I can't remember now. Someone's going to be able to tell me who the actress was in that. Sandra Bullock? Yeah, Sandra Bullock. There you go. It fell off. She, you know, she's a good actress. But yeah, that film was just a bit weird for me. I'm sure there are others that were really rubbish. I know I've seen some really rubbish films. I know we've watched films and you've gone at the end, well, what a waste. But they were so bad that I've forgotten about them, and I just, you know, if they weren't good, they've gone off my radar. I've slept since then. I can't remember that sort of thing. Okay, and the last film that we watched. The last film I watched was last weekend. No, the weekend before. Incredibles 2. I think it was the couple of days after it came out. I actually preferred it to the first Incredibles. I was not overly keen on the first Incredibles. I didn't think it was one of the best Disney films. Certainly didn't think it was one of the best Disney Pixar films. I'm a real Toy Story lover. So yeah, that I didn't really think an awful lot of the first one. It's not one I would choose to sit and watch again and again, but I know Lee really likes it. He really liked The Incredibles. He thought it was one of the best films. And the boys quite liked Incredibles as well. So we went to see Incredibles 2, and I nearly was like, not really fussed. But I went, and I'm really glad I did. Jack steals the show. I mean, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys if you haven't seen it, but you know, we all know Jack's got powers, and Jack's powers kind of come out through this film. And it's, you know, the things he does. His fight with a raccoon in the back garden is hilarious. He's such a great character, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I enjoyed it more than the first one. So I would say that was a good last film. And films that I might be watching soon, I'm not sure what's coming out of the cinema actually. We didn't do the cinema very often because it's so expensive, but actually the View, or our local View, is doing tickets anytime, any film, anytime, any day of the week, £4.99. Well, we don't mind that. You know, that's all of us in the cinema for £20, and I'm quite happy to pay that. But when I was paying something like £35 to get us all into the cinema, and then that doesn't include, you know, if we wanted popcorn or anything, which we'd never buy from there. We always go down to our pub, village pub, which has got a shop in it, and we always end up grabbing like popcorn and, you know, a packet of sweets or some drinks or something there and smuggling them into the cinema, because we are not paying those prices. It was £7 for a small bucket of popcorn the other day. So I thought they'd overcharged me, and I checked on the board when I came out and went, oh, that's ridiculous. So we don't mind paying £4.99 for cinema tickets, and I'm hoping, we've always said if they drop the prices, I'm sure more people would go. Nobody can afford stupid prices at the moment for cinema. You know, everyone's got bills to pay and other things that are more important at the moment. And but everyone needs a break. So I reckon, well, we're definitely going to the cinema more. You know, we've seen more films probably in the last few months than we have done in an entire year previously. So yeah, View, keep up the £4.99 tickets. Definitely a good thing. Right, well, that's my video for now. I hope, Ski Jump Nose, I hope you like this. I hope it answered your questions. If anyone wants me to do any kind of video on anything, within reason, then just leave me a message, because it's great to have ideas. I've got my little YouTube notebook, which I write down YouTube video ideas that I can put in the pipeline and get recorded. And I've just made up my new board. So take a look at this on the way out and press that button.